There was no shortage of stories this year that demonstrate just how significantly human-caused climate change is affecting our weather. So, Ryan, I want to start with you and the situation in Atlantic Canada. Can you tell us about what happened there this year?
We had a really, really bad season, the worst, as you mentioned, on record for Newfoundland and Labrador, where 18,000 hectares burned in Newfoundland and Labrador. The largest fire was near Conception Bay North. Hundreds of people were evacuated. There were dozens of home loss. There was another fire that was near St. John's. There were fires in New Brunswick, Miramichi, areas and near Miramichi had to be evacuated. And of course, here in my home province of Nova Scotia, coming off the heels of what was a really, really bad fire season in 2023. So we were already kind of on edge. And then, of course, the drought got worse and worse. The government actually took a bit of criticism at the time and banned all activity in the woods. You couldn't go in the woods, you couldn't go hiking. Ultimately, it was a lightning strike that caused the fire near Long Lake, which burned to near 8,000 hectares, destroyed 20 homes, and forced 1,000 people to evacuate.
And as you say, the word that links all of that together is drought. How did 2025 compare to recent years?
British Columbia has had a rough sort of 5-year period where we're breaking these all-time numbers, and so we were still well above seasonal for fire starts. We had fewer fire starts than the past couple of years, but we still managed to burn over 886,000 hectares.
And in the rest of Western Canada?
This is where we really saw the fire season start, early in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. In fact, by mid-June, it was the fires in Manitoba, particularly around Flin Flon, that led to thousands of people being evacuated. It was by mid-June that already authorities were saying this was likely going to be the second worst fire season ever on record for the country. So we were making that call at the beginning of the season because of those fires in Manitoba and Saskatchewan that virtually burnt for the entire season. And it was those fires that also led to the smoke that we saw through most of the country.
And this year, Hurricane Melissa quickly became a ferocious storm that battered Jamaica. Can you take us through what happened there?
The stats from Melissa really are incredible. It underwent, of course, rapid intensification from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in just hours, right? And you think about what ultimately led to that. So just absolutely exceptional heat, ocean heat that the storm passed through waters with sea surface temperatures that were near 30 degrees. So that's about 1.5 degrees above average. But what made this storm a little bit different was how deep that water, that warm ocean water was. There was, and actually I should mention this stat, these warm ocean conditions were estimated to be 500 to 900 times more likely due to human-caused climate change.
Wow.
We now know it became the third most intense Atlantic hurricane on record, as well as the most intense on record at landfall in the Atlantic Basin.
Johanna, you had your eye on the Philippines,
Yes,
which has been hit by a number of typhoons this year. Can you tell us about the situation there?
Almost all of the typhoons that hit the Philippines went through this rapid intensification process. We had 14 typhoons in the Eastern Pacific Basin. 13 out of the 14 hit the Philippines. And these names probably ring a bell to people, following the news over the past year. Typhoon Ragasa, strongest storm of the year early in the season, followed by Typhoon Kalmegi, followed by Typhoon Fangwang, hitting the Philippines over and over again before they had a chance to recover.
Okay, we were talking about extremes, fast-moving fires, powerful storms. But Ryan, what have you seen in the past year that kind of illustrates some of the slower-moving shifts?
Really, insects come to mind more than anything.
Gosh.
We had a brutal summer here with Japanese beetles, which, as I have learned, are flourishing now because we just don't get the cold in the wintertime here. They're surviving through the winter season, and they were wreaking havoc on my garden and numerous other gardens here in Nova Scotia. And don't get me started on ticks.
Oh boy, that is a serious problem though, isn't it?
Every time I take the dog for a walk in the woods, we come home and it's a tick check, and I've pulled, just over the last few weeks, I've pulled 4 or 5 ticks off my dog. So
wow.
They're getting worse, and it is again directly linked to our warmer winters here, which are those cold winters used to wipe the ticks out. That's just not happening anymore.
Okay, you guys are sharing all of your great intelligence with us, but now I want to talk about artificial intelligence, generative AI. It's such a big story this year.
So AI is the fastest moving tool in our toolbox. And I think 2025 was really the year that weather agencies tested it in real time. You know, the European model, one of our favorites, Ryan and I, has started integrating AI. The National Hurricane Center, this was the year they tested it alongside. I don't think that AI will ever fully replace physics-based models yet. You know, they're always going to need something to learn off of, but they will certainly augment and improve them, in my opinion.
As Johanna said, processing so quickly, now instead of picking, we got a snowstorm coming in. Instead of picking between 2 or 3 models, now we are going to have 4, 5, 6, 7 models. I'm not sure that makes my job any easier.
Ryan, Johanna, I want you to think about a good news weather or climate story that you think we should know about. Ryan, let's start with you.
Well, I struggled with this one, to be honest. Looking at a good news climate story, I think really I come back to we've had so many big storms and so many disasters here in the Maritimes and across Atlantic Canada over the last couple of years. But if there's a little bit of good news that I could gather from that, it would be that I've really seen how communities are coming together in the face of climate change and in the face of extreme weather.
Well, I've got a tangible one, and it's a new one too. So this year, Antarctic's ozone hole was the smallest and shortest lived since 2019. So a clear sign that layer is slowly recovering. Satellite data shows that hole is forming later, closing earlier, and this is all, of course, the effects of banned ozone-depleting chemicals. So we're continuing to see that fade, and this is your annual reminder that global policy does work. Of course, these chemicals don't stay as long in the atmosphere as a CO2, but a reminder that policy can turn the dial.
I thank you both, CBC meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe in Vancouver and Ryan Snoddon in Halifax. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.